Well, who feels like scraping the bottom of the barrel? So, a little while ago I did my list for 10 best villains of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and well, I gotta redress the balance. I gotta talk about the 10 worst. So, okay. Reminder for this list, unlike most of my MCU lists, which I restrict to the movies, I am opening this one up to include characters from the TV shows, the ABC shows, the Netflix shows, all of that. So, yeah, let's get through this. Let's start out with number 10, Killian from Doctor Strange. He's going to kick off the first is what is going to be a bit of a trend with a fair number of these, which is just that he's generic. He's boring. And in Killian's case, it's made a little bit extra worse because, well, he's presented as the primary villain of this thing, but we know he's effectively a henchman to a bigger baddie. So, I mean, he is nominally the villain of this film. And the reason he's not in any worse place than this, and he's occupying, the bottom, the low end, the least worst end of the list, is because Mads Mikkelsen brings a little extra something to it. He does. He elevates the material a little. There's only so far it could be elevated because it's not great material. Number 9, Yellow Jacket. Another case of a bland, boring villain, but worse than someone like Killian because a recycled, bland, boring villain because, oh, look, it's Obadiah Stane for Ant-Man. So, for the record, Obadiah Stane is not on this list because, at the very least, Jeff Bridges has a commanding presence, which helps. This guy, Darren Cross, this character, he's just... there's kind of a hand-wavy explanation as to why he acts the way he does. That, like, he's been around this kind of tech too long. Or actually, that may even have been a meta explanation I heard for why he acts so mustache-twirlingly villainous. But it doesn't matter if you can justify it or not. It's stupid. Like, the point at which I completely stopped taking him seriously as a villain is the instant he shrunk down that guy in the bathroom. Well, no. I just can't with this guy. Number 8, Diamondback, the villain replacement from the first season of Luke Cage. After giving us, about 6 episodes of getting us invested in Mahershala Ali as Cottonmouth, who was so good, and watching him unravel was becoming a really fascinating thing, and then... he's dead, and this dude just shows up out of nowhere going, I'm your brother. Wait, who are you? And he doesn't rank any worse than this, simply because the conflict of this guy did bring some decent stuff out of Luke. So he's kind of functional, but barely. And it was, we threw away such a good villain to bring this guy in, and it's a shift that doesn't work worth a dang at all. The suit that he's in the final fight looks stupid. I think the only moment I liked this guy was when he first showed up, quoting, the Warriors. Can you dig it? I'm like, oh, cool. And then after that, it's like, oh, this guy is just a whole lot of nothing. Number 7, Ronan the Accuser, back to generic world. And yeah, he's just bland, uninteresting. His motivations are underexplained. I'd like Killian, who came, I was going to say before him, as far as the order of releases, it was after. He is not actually the big baddie of the overall narrative going on. We're dealing with a henchman for our villain for this. He's not particularly threatening. He's just there. He's practically just a punching bag. He is something for the heroes to occasionally throw themselves against and bounce off of until eventually they all throw themselves at him at the same time and knock him down and he stays down. I mean, that's what he feels like. They could have replaced him. Oh, they totally could have replaced him with one of those sort of impact dummies. You know, the one that's just the upper torso that you kick and is like, and it comes back. That's him. That might as well have been Ronan. Number 6, the one that I am probably going to get the hardest pushback on, Red Skull. I don't get why anyone likes him and his appearance in the first Avenger. I don't. Again, generic as hell. So over the top. And Johann Schmidt, the Red Skull, is a great character in the comics. He's not made as wonderfully hateable here as he is in the comics. I think it's completely unnecessary the way that they like immediately break Hydra off from the Nazis. So it's like, oh, see, they're even worse than not. Just have him be a friggin' Nazi. Don't have him using the Nazis. He's a Nazi. Have him be a Nazi. Have him stay with the Nazis. Not like, I must break from the Nazis and do this. No! Have him all in on their philosophy. That's part of what's so scary about him, or it should be. And the performance, look, credit where credit's due. He looks phenomenal. But he's completely and utterly generic. He's just bog standard, and he's not threatening. He's not. It never feels like he's winning. Ever. Him and Hydra as an organization, in that movie at least. Hydra's not on this list because they've been used better in other scenarios, but Hydra as they appeared in here might as well have been Cobra. And Skull and the Red Skull was practically Cobra Commander, as far as I'm concerned. And no, his cameo appearance in Infinity War does not up him. That was a very cool Easter egg. But it doesn't do anything with him as a character. It's just a cool Easter egg. That doesn't elevate him. Number 5, Hive. Oh boy, I didn't even realize that rhymed. So, from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3, and this one is on here largely out of spite. Because if you watched my best villains of the MCU list, you would have seen Ward on there. And Ward was an awesome villain. He was a terrific wild card. He knew how to get under the skin of the agents. And he had a great deep history with them. How bad he was awesome. He always seemed to have his own agenda. So he wasn't just like, we must stop him in his plan. He's like, he's here screwing everything up and we don't know why. And he was threatening and he was vicious. And they killed him. And had this totally generic, world-ending thing walk around with his face. Boring, dull, and at even a higher level than Diamondback replacing Cottonmouth, a waste of an awesome villain sacrificed on the altar of generic, boring garbage. Number 4, Killian from Iron Man 3. Now, I actually think Iron Man 3 gets overhated in some circles. Especially, honestly, I think it gets legitimately overhated in terms of the Mandarin twist. Now, I say that specific to Ben Kingsley's part in that. Revealing that this omnipotent, this, almighty terrorist was a decoy, that's a really cool twist. Unfortunately, the villain that we get instead, Guy Pearce's Killian, is, again, generic, unintimidating, the latest iteration of Obadiah Stane, and he's not scary. It's not cathartic when he gets beaten. He doesn't feel threatening. He just feels like an annoyance. He feels like an irritation. And as much as I will defend that twist with the Mandarin, if you were going to remove what appeared to be such a cool and awesome villain, you needed to have something of equal or greater stature to step in and fill the void after him. And Killian absolutely does not do that at all. Number 3, the last of the characters on here for being boring and bland. Because yes, he is so bland, he cracks the top 3 for worst. Malekith from Thor to the Dark World. The character that it seems like no one else can ever remember his name. That's how bland he was. What a waste of a great actor. Christopher Eccleston is an awesome actor, and he's doing the best that he can. You know, and he brings a certain amount of presence to this part, but it is utterly generic, bland, unmemorable, uninteresting. He has almost no personality to speak of. His motivation is bog standard. What he is doing is your standard universe ending thing. And again, it's poorly explained. It's poorly motivated. When you properly motivate a villain who wants to more or less end a good chunk of the universe, you get Thanos. When you don't explain it worth a dang at all, and then he has no personality on top of it, you get Malekith. And Malekith is just a black hole of a character. Nothing interesting can escape his pull. Now, these last two are interlinked and interwoven with each other, but I am still going to deal with them separately. So first of all, number 2, Elektra. And yes, I am considering Elektra a straight-up villain because of her use in the Defenders. And I'm placing her on here largely for her use in that, although her appearance in Daredevil Season 2 is factoring in slightly. Not heavily, because she wasn't really the villain in that, but it's still factoring in insofar as I feel like she is a character with almost no agency, almost no drive. Everything about her is defined by other people. She shows up because of her connection with Matthew. She ropes him into everything that's going on because she is following Stick. She comes back, brought back to life by the Hand, and she is on their agenda. She takes over the Hand, and that is supposed to be like a big deal, like it's supposed to be intimidating and scary, except it's not, because I don't know her as a character. I don't understand what she would do with the Hand because I have no clue who she is. I can't tell you anything about her as a character aside from the fact that she's a bit tasty in a fight and she really likes Matt. That's it. For as many episodes of television as she appeared in, the fact that seems to be the entirety of her characterization, and they cast an actress who can do the physicality okay, but does not have the genuine presence needed to make this come across, to sell that Matt would be obsessed with her the way that he is. It just falls so flat and is so boring and is so dull and was so aggravating when it was supposed to be like a big deal that she kind of turned into the main villain in the Defenders. God, what? Ugh. So annoying. And then closely tied to that, number 1 worst villain in the MCU, collectively, the Hand. How do you make a ninja death cult criminal syndicate uninteresting? It's like a magic trick. The Hand were scary for the entirety of the fight where one of them fought Matt in the first season of Daredevil. Every other appearance since then, the more we learned about them, the stupider they got. In terms of the way the organization works, in terms of how they function in the stories, in terms of the individuals that we know who operate in the Hand, in terms of the supposed overall goals. Why is any of this scary? Like, there's all this emphasis put on if they ever get back to Kunlun. You want to finish that sentence? You want to say what would happen if they got back to Kunlun? They never say. You never say. We don't know the value of Kunlun, but them threatening it is apparently we must kill all these people. And they also act so stupidly in the Defenders. Oh my God. So they have their whole immortality juice stuff that they use to stay alive, but they're currently out of it. They're harvesting the stuff to get more, but right now they're vulnerable. They could die. They still have minions left. They have those minions mining the stuff they need, and when the heroes show up, they themselves, the leaders of the Hand, at their most vulnerable, meet them in the parking lot to fight them hand on hand. What? How friggin' stupid stupid are you that you would do that when you're at your most vulnerable? And again, their only goal seems to be just to live forever and to get back to Kunlun. And it's never explained why this is actually a bad friggin' thing. I'm not saying that they're good people. They run criminal organizations, but so what? You can't sell them as this big, overarching, world-threatening thing, and they've also got all that crap with the black sky, whatever the heck the black sky was. Anybody know? Hands up. There are no hands up because nobody knows what the heck that was. We have this kid that stinks that had to die, and then Elektra comes back, and she's the black sky. What is the black sky? All Elektra does when she comes back is be kind of okay in a fight, but get her butt kicked repeatedly by the heroes, and then as I mentioned in the last entry, take over the hand, and to do what? To do what? To do nothing. To be nothing, because the hand is just nothing, and yet ate up so many hours of multiple shows. Why? God, I hate them so much. And I really hope they never, ever, ever come back after the Defenders. Please. Even Madame Gao. I liked her as an individual character, but even her, she's been tainted no more, for the love of God. And that's my list of the 10 worst Marvel villains. Let it loose a little there, I think. Okay, who do you think were the worst villains in the MCU? If you want to restrict it to the movies, you want to open it up to the shows, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. There's all the stuff to do. You know the stuff. Like and subscribe and support me on Twitter. Twitter. I don't need your support on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. Support me on Patreon. That's kind of the big one. God, I think I burned out my brain on that last stretch of the rant. In any case, links for all the stuff I mentioned and more stuff besides is going to be down in the description. So until next time, this council is adjourned.